Right, hello everyone, and welcome to session 7 of Star Trek I-13. If this is your first time checking out I-13, we are a specialized Nova class that exists in the era of the Dominion War. We're currently in 2374, so probably about midway through the Dominion War at this point. If you want to play catch up, you can catch the VODs on my YouTube, which should be linked somewhere below if you're watching this live on Twitch. That's really all I have announcement wise. So I think what we're gonna do is we're just gonna run the intro and dive right into things. All right, and welcome back. So, if this is your first time tuning in, or you don't really know how I run my Star Trek games, I basically have the players prepare an opening log, and today, I believe that honor falls to Commander Telek. So, Nick, if you'd take it away.
Chief Engineer's Log, Stardate 51895.6. The I-13 has finally gotten permission to get back out in the field after surprisingly extensive repairs from the captain's incident with the Wave Rider. On the course of our normal patrols, we received a distress call from Omega Guru 7, a planet we previously thought to be long abandoned due to its star's instability. The message appears to come from a city in the southern polar regions, which could still be inhabitable. Whoever it is, whether it's natives to the planet or newly arrived foreigners, they need our help. I'm hoping we start off our repairs on a good foot and that this isn't a trap laid for us by the enemy to catch us off guard.
Alrighty. So, our first scene is actually going to be right on the bridge of the I-13. And true to form, you all are just now arriving in the area of Omega. Where is it? Hold on. Sorry, I'm missing a handout. You are arriving around Omega Grius 7. Omega Grius 7. I pick words I could say. And Drew, I've gone ahead and already given you a handout of what you're able to tell and what the computer is handing to you in return. So feel free to sprinkle that into roleplay. As he's reading, though, Commander Holton sort of speaks up and says, Captain, should be worth noting that we are experiencing level 3 ion storm. I-13 can handle it just fine, sir, but I would definitely not recommend taking the Wave Rider again, sir.
You just don't want me going out there at all, do you?
Well, not if you're going to bang up the ship again.
That wasn't my fault. The EPS conduit was out of alignment. We all know this. We all read the report. It wasn't my fault.
Sir, you're the one who prepared the report.
Are you questioning? Never mind, Commander. What about transports? Are we able to transport through the storm?
We should be able to, sir, but, and she kind of looks across the bridge. Lieutenant Commander Idru, do you have anything from a medical perspective?
Well, there's a small window from which we should send an away team to this planet, Captain. We only have about 4 hours to work. The situation on this planet, it's pretty bleak, I should say. It used to be a Class M planet, but due to the stars, changes in the star at least, it's now classified as a Class H. Very hot, very dry, kind of miserable. Not to mention the fact that the planet's gravity is also a little bit higher than Earth normal. So, which means the 4 hours that we could spend there are going to be spent dealing with, much more difficult conditions because everything will seem heavier to us. We'll certainly need to take a triox compound because the air is also much thinner. I'd say Mr. Saval and Mr. Telek will probably be the only ones that don't feel those effects right away. Oh, and we should also go at night. Like I mentioned, the star it's cooking the planet. We don't want to be around for that.
And Doctor, can you comment on the effects of the ion storm itself on our sensor systems or weapons? Might the Jem'Hadar be able to use it as a screen against our sensors, or would it interrupt targeting scanners?
I think all that's certainly possible.
Tell you what,
I was
let's give
hoping
you.
for
Oh, go ahead.
confirmation rather than speculation about possibilities, but if that is the best that you can do, Doctor.
Well, what I was going to say is, why don't we actually make a roll of it, and I'll let you assist each other. Idru, you would be doing an insight science. So Vol, if you're doing it, it's an insight security. Difficulty on this is only a 1, so you are primed to get momentum here.
I should assist on that because my
That's a
insight
pretty
is quite poor.
That's a good roll for me. Sensor operations?
Yep. All right, that's 1 success from Saval. And 3 from Idru. Very nice. So let's see here. So actually, as you all are saying that, maybe like, hey, I meant, is this actually going to be a thing? What you both come across to the same conclusion. You can't see the rolls. Let me fix that. Oh, duh. There we go. Sorry. Thank you. Sorry about that, stream. Anyways, as you're coming to the conclusion together, what you arrive at is the ion storm is, to put it bluntly, it's sort of like a gust of wind at this point, like maybe about a nice 15 to 20 knots. It's, a breeze. But based on what you're reading about the star system itself, that is ramping up. And if it gets any worse, there could not only be disruption in transporting, but as Saval asked, there would be potential problems with targeting sensors, with basically sensors in general, is what I would say.
Captain, it's a shame that the Bodhi's out of commission. That would probably be the most effective way to go down to the planet.
Well, we'll have to make do with what we have. And Centauri, any sign of Jem'Hadar activity in the area recently?
I believe that is Lovecraft's supporting characters, so I will let them answer.
Certainly. Not that I can see, Captain, but I don't know. We're swimming through a lot of soup here, so all I can give you is a best guess.
Swimming through a lot of soup.
Yeah, well,
All right.
I just came from lunch, so I guess I could just have that on the back of my mind. It's like that soup was like a 12 out of 10. So
I haven't actually gone down to the mess hall since that chef made his presence known. So,
hey, Seagull is a great guy. You just spend some time with him.
something about him seems dangerous. I think it's his eyes.
But they do have this sort of weird burning passion to them, like barely restrained power.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be on the other side of a fight against him.
Commander Holton
Okay.
just kind of coughs and says, well, sirs, if we're done being the Seagal fan club.
You're right, Commander. All right, let's get down there and see what's wrong. Well, let's be careful. I've been in a situation like this before, and if it seems like it could be a trap, it likely is. So let's take every precaution.
Hey, you got it. I'll get us out of here at the first sign of trouble.
And I walk over to Shran very closely so I can just say this to him privately. Captain, the conditions on this planet are going to be very difficult for you as an Andorian. Are you sure you're up for it?
I've experienced worse.
Hot, dry, high gravity. It's sort of the worst case scenario for one of your species.
Don't worry about me. Let's worry about those people down on that planet.
All right. Well, I'm at least going to give all of us a triox compound to help with the lower amount of oxygen and the fact we'll be exerting ourselves more. Just give me a signal if you feel that the environment is doing too much to you. Even if it's a down low captain trying to keep your image sort of signal.
I'll cross my antenna.
I think that'll work.
All right. So, if I'm picking up what you guys are putting down, Shran's going, Idru's going, Saval's going, Talek's going. You bringing any supporting characters, or just you four?
Seems like just us four.
All right.
Let's
I was
bring
no, but
let's
I
bring-
don't think that's a good idea.
let's bring Vron, who's the security character I made, just to in case we need a little bit of extra firepower.
Little bit of extra firepower. Cool. If you could throw in just a quick token image for him, I can get that set up and throw him onto the screen as I finish reading what happens. Let me put you guys on this screen first, and then I'll describe what you're seeing. So, the transport is rather effective, and by that I mean you don't experience any weirdness to it. And when you arrive, you are in what is essentially a ruined city. Even without, confirming with your tricorders, what you're seeing is a city in advanced state of decay. Whatever the material of the building, whatever the material is, it's definitely durable, but the entire city, there are no buildings larger than 4 stories tall. Everything is 4 stories or below, and from looking at the amount of debris that's just around these husks of buildings, they must have been easily 12, 20, even higher, numbers of stories. So there's even some of the buildings with metal frameworks that have pretty much rusted away to completion at this point. You're also seeing that there's broken planes of glass that litter the ground, and the streets are very interesting in the way that normally a human city is sort of squared off where you have square blocks. Whoever lived here before actually did a hexagonal sort of thing. I could do words today. So instead of being squares, the blocks are all hexagonal. But really, that's all you can see based on your initial assessment. And the lighting is low. So the only lighting you have is what are on your wrist mounted sort of flashlights. And if you were to say bring like a larger flashlight, I'd give it to you free. But that's kind of what you're seeing, just a dark, abandoned, ruined city at night. And true to what the doctor said earlier, it is already pretty hot. If I had to put a point on the temperature, and I'm gonna butcher the Celsius conversion. Fahrenheit, it's about 90 degrees. Celsius, I think that's what, 50, 60? I think that's right. 50 or 60. Basically, it's pretty damn hot. And yeah, that is where you arrive.
I checked for you. It's 32.
Okay, so not as hot as I thought.
Still pretty hot.
Yeah.
It is very hot.
Commander
I think
Select.
if I knew we were going down at night, I would have grabbed us some good flashlights. So I'm just going to assume that we have.
Yeah. Saval, I think you had something?
Oh, I was just going to say, in character to Lek, Commander, I must say this is more the temperature of a Vulcan winter, I believe, than anything particularly strenuous.
I mean, I can't say that the captain has necessarily dealt with temperatures like this most of the time, so I think we should be mindful not to make ourselves too comfortable.
Indeed.
At least, let's just not make him feel bad about it.
You both know I've been in Starfleet for more than 20 years, right?
I think I remember
Okay.
hearing that you were on the first NX vessel. Is that correct, Captain?
No, the second, Doctor. It was the second one.
Oh, sorry.
Just got off of it before it went missing, so lucky me, eh?
Yes,
well, we're
indeed.
glad to have you here with us.
Just then, I would like everybody to roll me an insight and a security, please. The difficulty is going to be a 1, and I would say if you have anything related to survival, awareness, perception, or any focus of the sort, that would apply here. All right, well, let's see. So Shran passes. Saval gets you 2 momentums. You're at 5. Tolek does not notice, and Idru does. All right, so what's going to happen is all of you realize pretty much at the same time, except for Tolek, that coming out of the ground itself, almost like a burrowing animal, comes these almost ostrich-sized flesh hanging off of their bones, almost abomination that is somewhere between a mole rat and a feathered being. Very colorful, in fact, as I get their token on here. What feathering they have is actually bioluminescent. But unfortunately, it seems you have quite literally stirred the hive, as it were. And since all of you but Telek succeeded, you are not attacked by the ones that come up near you. But Telek, since you did fail, they are going to be able, the one nearest you is going to get an attack on you. So let me roll and see what they get. Okay, so you need to get 4 successes on a daring security or you are getting hit.
I'm just going to use some of our momentum. We have a bunch.
Yeah, go for it.
No.
Unfortunately, that is 3 and not quite enough. So, what happens is this bioluminescent bird creature literally pecks at you with its beak and does a measly 2 stress of damage, but probably scares you more than anything. It just came out of nowhere, and you're like, oh, what the hell? But we are going to move into structured turn order here. All right. So that was the surprise round. It is now any of the players who would wish to go.
I'd like to submit that Saval should go.
I think that's fair. He's quick on his feet.
Yeah, go for it. So what is Saval doing?
Noticing that Commander Telek has been assaulted by one of these creatures, he's going to draw his Type 2 phaser and carefully aim around Telek in order to try to hit the creature.
Okay.
So I'll take a minor action to aim,
Okay.
and then, yeah.
All right. That is a control security difficulty of 2.
So I'll use augmented ability control for that,
Alrighty.
and I will buy an extra die.
Ooh.
But with aim, I can re-roll that complication.
Yep.
So
Yeah, because the complication was going to be you hit Telek too.
applicable, sorry about that. And I also have Deadeye Marksman. Oh well.
Awesome.
Well, this is happening. That's incredible. Okay, we're gonna roll with it. What is the damage on your phaser, Saval?
That is 7 challenge dice, and because of Deadeye Marksman, there's 1 less difficulty, so we would take an extra.
All right, well, you do get a momentum, but yeah, I think you're hitting Telek in this too. So go ahead and roll some damage.
So 7 dice.
Oh my.
Okay, let's.
Oh no!
Let me
That's
think
a lot
about
of
how to do
effect.
this. Okay, hold on. Okay, so Saval, you pull out your phaser, you take careful aim, and you fire a lance of orange plasma at the ratite that had just attacked Telek. However, either there's just a problem with the phaser itself, or perhaps Telek moves in a way that's unexpected. Either way, the beam grazes Telek's right arm, And you do put the creature down, but you also put Telek down. So, Telek, you are not dead. You are just injured at the moment. Which means, actually, you can't be attacked unless I spend threat. So you're sort of out of
I'm
combat
safe.
at the moment. We'll use that to mark you out of combat. All right.
Optimistically, you can't be attacked again without threat, so you're kind of safe in a way.
Yeah.
Yes, I have helped you. See,
Yes, 100%.
indeed, it's all part of the plan.
Yes.
Did we ever get a token for the security officer? So I'm not just.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we do. Yeah. Let me get him on here.
And I think, Nick, we took 2 momentum for that because of my talents.
Thank you.
It's the least I can do
I
after
was
shooting
too
you.
busy being distracted dying.
Oh, you're just stunned. You shake it off. You're a Vulcan.
Oh, I love it. So yeah, it is going to be the creature's turn, but if you'll give me just a moment, I will finish setting up Mr. Vrand's token. It looks like he has 14 stress. And I gotta make sure you all can edit him.
And thank you for doing my math for me. I just noticed that you did it. And
Yeah,
I
no
was too
worry.
busy being distracted dying.
All right, there we go. All right, so creature's turn. The creature nearest to you, Saval, is going to sort of let out a squawk and is going to aim for the arm carrying the phaser or the hand carrying the phaser. So let's see what they roll, and we'll go from there. I think it's interesting, though. I'm going to spend 3 threat to give them 2 additional dice.
Oh, goody.
Well, the good news is you literally only need to roll 2 successes on a daring and a security.
I will buy an extra die, so I'll be rolling 3d20.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not have an focus. Less survival counts, but I'm going to say no.
No, unfortunately, you would need to have like melee combat or hand-to-hand combat. But hey, you get the 2 successes, so you actually get to make a counterattack. Let's say, because you don't have a batleth or anything, so go ahead and roll me 6 challenge die, because unarmed is base 1.
Okay.
All right. So the rat's height goes for your arm, and you pull it back out of the way just in time, and then almost in an indignant fashion, you just sort of scowl at it and then punch it in its stupid face, and it lets out a and it sort of falls back, trying to pick itself up as it's dealing with unexpected pain. But that is their turn. Which one of you would like to go next?
I have a plan, if I may.
I love plans. Where is this going?
So I'd like to use my tricorder to make a screeching sound or some kind of effect if I could intuit the nature of these creatures, because I have a focus in anthropology and then also xenobiology. So maybe I can guess birds with, they won't like sound, or, they could distract them or blind them in some way. I'm literally trying to blind them with science here if I can.
I like
The
it.
idea
I like
being
it.
that I can distract them and they may, I'd say best case, it might just ignore us for a few rounds.
Go ahead and do me a daring and a science. I would even give you a daring medicine. And you definitely
Okay.
have a focus that applies here. How about we make it a difficulty of 2?
Okay, I think I would like to buy an extra dice by spinning a momentum. That's
That
lousy.
that
Sorry,
is
guys.
only 1. Do you want a determination that, or you want to save it? Tell you what, I would even do this. I would let you succeed, but there would be a complication.
I think I'm okay with that.
Okay. So, you succeed, and sure enough, the screech that your tricorder puts out is enough that the one nearest Saval and the one nearest the captain, they immediately begin burrowing back into the ground. However, the one nearest to you is going to let out what is essentially a mating cry and is more or less going to try and jump at you. So let's see what they roll.
It's
The
been a
complication.
lonely.
Yeah, I was
It's
gonna
been
say
a lonely voyage. I'm okay with this. It's fine.
Wait,
Love is
can
love.
we? What's the momentum to seize the initiative?
None,
it
because
would.
I have quick action.
Yeah, it would be free. But what I'm saying though is the complication is them getting this free attack
Okay,
in.
it's not its turn. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll give it one additional dice with threat just because I think it's funny. They don't get enough successes, so you just sidestep this thing as it leaps at you. You're fine.
Yeah, I would like to not roll because I'm only gonna make complications. I think if I roll anything.
I mean, if you literally roll one success, you can punch it back.
Let me go for it because this could be really funny.
Look at that. You even get
Yeah, there
a
we go.
momentum out of it. So there you go. Now you get to do all of 2 challenge dice worth of damage.
Oh, I should have rolled the attack. Oops. Just ignore the everything but the damage here, I guess. Hey, 2. It's not bad.
Should be one more challenge die. Because it's unarmed is 1 and your security is 1, so it should be 2 challenge dice. Okay.
Yeah, just 2.
All right, so you, similar to Saval, punch it in its stupid squawking face. If you can't tell, I really don't like ratites for some reason. But what happens is it now technically falls to their turn unless you want to keep the initiative.
Yes, please.
Okay. Tron, are you acting, or is Idru acting? Or is Vran acting?
I think
I was-
Tron, take it away.
I was going to go with Tron because I'm just as good with the phaser.
Alrighty.
Not a big deal, but I'm pretty good with a phaser. So I will aim and try to shoot that ratite.
Okay. Control security, difficulty of 2.
I will use 1 momentum to buy 1 dice.
Mm-hmm. Hey, 2 successes. Very nice. That's all you need. So I think for you it's 6 challenge dice, 7 challenge dice.
7.
And that is more than enough that you stun this bird and it just sort of falls limp to the ground. And we'll take us out of turn order for the moment. The danger has passed. Though Talek is still on the ground clutching their arm.
Drew will quickly run over to Talek.
It hurts so much. No. Help.
Nice shot, Mr. Saval.
And you see that Saval holsters his phaser, says nothing, but as his hand moves up, it's shuddering slightly. And he just walks off towards the captain.
Since Talek was
I'm
stunned,
mostly okay.
do I need to
Kind
do
of.
any first aid, or is Talek able to just shake it off?
Let me put it this way, since this is
I do
still
need
the
first aid.
same this is still the same scene. If you want them to be able to act in the scene, you do need to first aid them.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
All right. So I need you to do a daring and a medicine at a difficulty of 1. If you have field medicine, that difficulty becomes a 0.
I do not have field medicine, actually. I have a focus in emergency medicine. Would that apply?
I'll give it to you.
I think I'll take an extra dice, just in case.
Look at that. You get 2 momentum right back. Do you have... There's a specific talent that medicine folks can get that lets you give them stress back. Do you have that talent?
I do not have that one.
Okay. So then what's going to happen is, Talek, maybe the doctor runs a dermal regenerator over you, basically gets you back up into the fight, quote unquote, but you're still only at 3 stress for the moment.
Easy enough.
Well, Captain, I'd like to get away from this area if we could. Those two I scared off might return.
Yeah, Commander Saval, Lieutenant Brand, keep your eyes open. Watch out for these things. Seem to come out of nowhere. Doctor, can you get some scans on these creatures? And
Of course.
Yeah, maybe we should keep like a scan going so we could see if there's any sort of seismic activity underneath us, if they're burrowing.
Well, Mr. Idru, if you would like to roll me a reason and a medicine, let's call this a difficulty of 2, and you would have a focus here.
Okay. I'd like to buy a third die if that's all right.
do it.
Hey, 3 successes. You get the momentum right back. So, what you learn, Idru, based on scans and observation, is that their beaks and claws are definitely meant for tunneling into the ground. Both probably as a way to get out of the daytime sun and as an ambush predator sort of thing. Um, you're not exactly sure if they're like a pack hunter or if they're a solo hunter, but based on what just happened, you can draw your own conclusions. The other thing I would say based on your scan is that they do appear to be somewhat intelligent, but without like further study, you're not able to get like a number or a comparison. But they obviously have some thinking capacity.
Captain, it's my recommendation that we try to take shelter in one of the buildings if we could. It appears that they burrow underground, and at least if we're in a structure, they won't be able to take us by surprise. Of course, we'll want to find one that's not falling apart.
How far are we from the distress signal?
I was waiting if someone was going to ask. So let's say Mr. Vran types on the tricorder and says, "Sir, we're not detecting the distress signal anymore." And more fun, I can't get the I-13 on comms.
All right.
How long do we have left before we start like feeling the effects of this planet? I know we had a timetable.
3 hours and 45 minutes.
Doctor-
Commander Saval, can you identify a nearby structure that we could take shelter in?
I will reconnoiter the area and locate an appropriate shelter. But while I'm gone, Dr. Idru, might you be able to investigate the potential source of the jamming field? Perhaps it is due to the electromagnetic interference from the ion storm. But if it is caused by something on the planet, for instance, a Gemidor trap, I would like to be aware of it.
Of course. I'll see what I can find. Mr. Saval, are you sure you should go by yourself? If more of these things come out with, there's lots of evidence that they travel at least in small packs.
It is, of course, the captain's decision. However, I would recommend that Lieutenant Vran remain with you.
I trust the commander can watch over himself.
Very good. So I guess I would look for shelter if that's possible, scouting ahead.
It is. However, it is at this time that as you're searching, Mr. Saval, you start to experience almost like a schizophrenic sort of feeling where you're hearing voices, seeing flashes of images, maybe sort of going insane a little bit. And the more you press on, the more these flashes of sound, light, visions, etc., they become more and more prevalent until you are within a memory. And this is where we're going to sort of do the meat of today's session. Saval, what is one of your career events?
The camera pans through space until it falls upon an Ambassador-class starship that has been heavily damaged. There are There's warp plasma leaking out of the warp nacelles. Great sort of hull breaches dot the saucer section, and you can see that a pair of Jem'Hadar attack craft are arcing about in the distance, preparing for another assault on the U.S.S. Menelaus. And we burrow into the interior of the ship and its bridge as a conduit explodes and falls. The bridge is dilapidated. Saval is tapping away at the security console on the back of the bridge, while a Tellarite captain is bleeding out in the command chair. And Saval snaps to attention, looks at the captain for a moment, and clears the smoke from his eyes, waving his hand slightly, and then orders the helm to change course and engage in evasive actions.
All right. And as I said prior to the session, if everyone else, if you want to jump in as one of the characters in this sort of scene that we're experiencing, feel free. But the helm sort of shouts back, at least at first, before someone takes over helm, says, Sir, engines are not responding. I've got thrusters only.
Very well. Do the best that you can. Saval to engineering. I need impulse power back online as quickly as possible.
Oh my god, we're losing people down here! Ah! I'm in the background. Ah!
Bridge, this is Ensign Mikan. We've got. What did you want? Can you get sickbay down here? We've got lots of casualties. The chief, I think she's dead.
Who is in command in engineering?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Can you get help down here?
Ensign, I need you to restore impulse power. The entire ship is imperiled.
But the safeties are down. The whole area is flooded with radiation.
Ensign, if those impulse engines aren't brought back online, the entire ship may be lost. I am ordering you to restore impulse power regardless of the cost.
I just got out of the academy. I don't know how to do any of this stuff. I'm. Is there someone else?
Ensign, the fate of the ship rests on your shoulders at this moment. You have been trained at Starfleet Academy. You are fit to perform your duties.
I'll try.
Very good, Ensign. And Saval will then turn to his helm officer. Helm, do the best that you can with thrusters. When the Jem'Hadar make another attack run, bring us around to course 185 Mark 3-4, and I'll prepare a salvo of photon torpedoes.
All right.
Mark 3-4, got it, sir.
Very good, Ensign.
And sure enough, a pair of Jem'Hadar fighters comes over the view screen right as Saval, you give the order. And I'm assuming torpedoes fly out to strike both?
Yes, one of them is heavily damaged. Its warp nacelle blowing off the body of the vessel, and the other one is destroyed outright. And as the first vessel begins spiraling off into space, a warning klaxon begins sounding from Commander Saval's console, and he turns to it, taps at the controls for a few moments, and recognizes that there is an intruder alert as Jem'Hadar forces begin to beam on board the vessel, abandoning their ship, and they begin to make their way towards critical areas of the vessel. Saval turns over to a weapons locker on the bridge, unhooks a Type 3 phaser rifle, and leaves the bridge in command of the helm officer.
Alrighty. So that's what you experience, Saval. And until we come back to you, assume that you are still within this reverie, this hallucination. So we're going to cut back to the rest of the away team at this point. And let's put Saval over here so we know he's doing something over there. So the rest of you, you're checking out nearby buildings, looking for anything that could be of use. When maybe about 10, 15 minutes have passed, and Saval still hasn't returned.
Captain Strawn taps his communicator. Commander Saval, where are you? What's your location?
Now, Commander Saval, the way you are experiencing reality at the moment, you hear this, but it is sort of justified in your hallucination. So you would reply as if you are hearing someone in your hallucination.
Ensign, I'm securing engineering at this point. A defensive blockade has been set up as the Jem'Hadar attempt to take it. I believe that they are intending to detonate the warp core. Reroute security forces to my position.
Does Captain Strawn hear that response?
Oh yeah, you hear that response.
Captain just turns to the doctor and Commander Telek and wide-eyed, like, did I hear that correctly? Did you hear that?
I heard that as well. All of that sounds very bad, Captain.
Can we get like a location based on this signal that we're getting from him so we can figure out where?
Well, you as a engineer could certainly accomplish such a thing. Why don't you give me a reason engineering difficulty of 2?
I'm gonna spend 1 momentum because I do really want to find.
Mm-hmm. Oh dear.
Oh no!
So here's what happens. Not only are you unable to hone in on the signal, but actually 2 things are going to happen. The first is that your tricorder shorts out and becomes a defunct piece of metal. The other thing that happens is now Telek, you're experiencing your career event. So tell us a little bit about Telek's events in her or Telek's in his past. Sorry.
So basically, what the camera would see, I suppose, is they would see a large ship, the U.S.S. Majestic, and it would change view to the engineering department, and you can see this room is completely empty. There's only Telek in there, and flashing lights, like red lights. Obviously, something's wrong because only the emergency backup power lights are on, and Telek is just like staring at a screen, just trying to type away and fix whatever power mishap is happening. And elsewhere on the ship, things are going wild as well because there was an outbreak of the Cartelian fever, and the captain is out. The main doctor is out, so they're working with emergency medical holograms, and Telek is trying very desperately to get the power back on.
Alright.
Maybe somebody will call in or something. I don't.
Yeah, I tell you what, let's have Mr. Idru. Why don't you be one of the ensigns on the bridge at this point?
I'll do you one better. This is Captain Shatner. To Commander Telek, what is the situation?
It's not great. It looks like while we were upgrading the power systems, somehow most of the power got diverted somewhere in the ship and away from the parts where it's supposed to be. I'm not sure where the glitch is. I'm going to try to divert power from maybe the 4th deck if you can get everybody off of there, and that way I can send it over to sick bay so we can keep life support on over there.
Very good, Commander. The entire ship is depending on you.
And Talek is obviously like very nervous. He is not the chief engineer there. He is just a random engineer who is not sick. And he was just supposed to be watching the upgrades while they're going on. So he's typing away, just all alone.
Gotcha. So, since this is happening where everyone else can see it, as we cut back away from the hallucination and we go back to the ruins. So, Idru, Shran, and Vron, what you basically see is Tulek take her tricorder, take his tricorder and basically mess with it as if it were like an actual terminal. And it's almost like they're pressing at phantom buttons, but the tricorder is dead. Like, it is definitely not responding. And they don't really seem to be answering or doing anything. Like, if you were to talk to them, they don't really answer in a way that would make sense. So again, Talek, whenever they talk to you, you are answering as if the hallucination has justified it in some way, shape, or form.
And you guys have never seen Talek this nervous. Like, he's usually pretty chill. He is obviously very unsettled.
Commander, I think your tricorder is broken. Would you like to use mine?
I'm just trying to reroute the power right now so that I can get everything back functional. It I might just have to take some things apart and put them back together in a different manner. And he trails off.
I think I'd like to scan the commander while he's telling us this.
All right. I actually have an important question for you, Mr. Idru. You are a Delton, correct?
Correct.
Did you take, I believe it's the talent to give you telepathy, empathy?
Unfortunately, I did not take the talent, no.
Okay. Then we'll deal with that in a moment. Go ahead and roll me a reason medicine, difficulty of 2. And I'm going to butcher the medical on this, so feel free to correct me.
Focus in emergency medicine or biology?
I'll give you biology.
I think I'd like to spend a momentum for an extra dice. This seems a little important.
Okay.
And
Hey, well, you get
2.
the momentum right back. Very nice.
Well, I need to roll a third dice. I only rolled 2, like a
well,
dummy.
Even more momentum, potentially.
There we go.
Gotcha. So what you see on your scans, actually, you're a medical person, so you actually get 1 more momentum. I completely forgot about that. So you're at 4. Correct me if I'm wrong, but is it the hippocampus that does memory? Is that the right region of the brain?
I believe that's short-term memory, yeah.
Okay. I'm looking more for long-term memory.
Well, as a Vulcan, you can make up whatever you want.
Okay. Well, either way, whichever region of the brain in a Vulcan brain is responsible for long-term memory, you're seeing that it is hyperactive. And that is because there is almost like a resonance between the nerves and something in the area. And it is at this point that, Idru, I need you to roll me a fitness and a medicine at a difficulty of 2.
Ooh. Okay. Focus in, I don't know, research or biology or emergency medicine, maybe?
I would give you survival if you had survival, but yeah, I would say, yeah, I don't think you have a focus here, unfortunately.
Think I'm just gonna... Gosh, I kind of need 2 more dice here. You guys feel about spending 3 momentum?
I'm all for it.
Do it.
My fitness is very poor.
Let's get 2 complications.
Well,
There's the 2 you needed. So, Idru, Oh, thank you, by the way, Chubby Kobold. So apparently it is the thalamus is the one I was looking for, if I read that correctly. Anyway, so Idru, what happens is you feel a presence pushing into your mind. And even though you're not a trained telepath, empath, etc., you're able to push it away and you avoid falling into your own hallucination. However, Shran, I now need you to roll me a fitness medicine. But because you are not a species that is has a predilection, I think I said that right, a predilection, however you say it, for telepathic abilities, I need you to do a fitness medicine at a difficulty of 3.
Does survival count as a focus for this?
I would definitely give you survival for this one.
Actually, the focus doesn't matter since I only have a 1 in it.
Oh, God. All right, so we now have the captain's flashback. So, Captain, tell us a little bit about what you are experiencing.
We go back about 20 years, or less than that, but we're on a bridge of a Miranda-class vessel, the U.S.S. Decatur, and Captain Strawn is actually sitting in the captain's chair. There's not a lot going on. It seems like a very quiet day, just the typical activity of a Starfleet vessel, when suddenly a distress call comes in from a settlement on the Cardassian side of the border.
And,
The con officer turns to the captain. Captain, I'm getting a distress call. Looks like a Cardassian colony near the border is, well, they don't really describe what they need, but they're requesting help.
See if you can ascertain the nature of their emergency. This is strange. Hasn't been a lot of activity on this side of the border in months.
Yes, sir.
And then after a few moments, you get back that it's a medical emergency, and it's
Well,
a civilian settlement.
well, Captain, they haven't really given me much detail, but they seem to indicate that a number of their population have they fallen ill with some kind of disorder. They don't know what it is, but they're requesting assistance. None of their ships are in the region.
Well, Ensign, alert Starfleet Command. We're here to help. So, Helm, set course for that Cardassian settlement, maximum warp. And with that, the U.S.S. Decatur goes to warp towards this Cardassian settlement. It takes a few, I guess we'll step forward to when they come out of warp. And as soon as the ship comes out of warp, there are 3 Galore-class vessels on top of the Decatur. Weapons hot, shields up, and they immediately begin firing.
And because I think it's interesting, because it will flavor how you respond, we cut back to the away team. At this point, Idru, you are currently the only quote-unquote sane person. Talek is experiencing something, Shran is experiencing something, and as you turn to Vron, Vron is experiencing something. And if that wasn't bad enough, Idru, I'm going to spend 4 threat here that, let's just say your bird friends from earlier, they jump up out of the ground and start to take a attack posture.
Of course they do. Well, I think the only thing I can do at this point is to try to communicate with them in some way. So I saw my tricorder scare them before. Is there any way I could intuit a way to, like, placate them in some way?
Yes, there is. Roll me a daring and a medicine. This will be a difficulty of 2. You have a medical tricorder, becomes difficulty 1. I spend 3 threat to bring that up to a difficulty of 3. And how much do I have left? I will make the complication range in 18 to 20.
So could I sell you that I've been examining these guys before?
Mm-hmm.
I'm mostly going for my testing a theory and theory into practice talents. Like I've already tried to sort of communicate with them already, so I've kind of tried this already
Yeah, I'd let that happen.
in a way. Cool. Okay. This feels determination-y, so I think I'm gonna spend the determination. I don't believe I'm gonna say I don't believe any form of sentient life is inferior to any other. So instead of trying to just attack them, I'm gonna try to be civil about it. So I'm gonna use my determination that way for the 2 auto successes.
Mm-hmm.
Difficulty of 3, you said. So yeah, I think I'll just roll. I get the extra d20 for testing a theory. Theory into practice lowers the difficulty by 1, so it's a difficulty of 2. I've already got 2 successes. I'm rolling 3 dice rather.
Alrighty, see what happens.
You said medicine daring?
Medicine daring.
I'm assuming a focus maybe in exobiology?
I'd give it to you, yeah. Wow, that is a total of 5 successes, so that is 3 momentum. No, 4 momentum because you reduced it down. No, I had it right, 3 momentum.
3, yeah, 3.
So I'm gonna let you make the call here. You can either make another sort of predatorial roar come out of your tricorder, which will scare them away, or you could make what is essentially a mating call and placate them that way.
Oh boy. Because when I scared them, well, when the mating call before, they didn't run away. They stayed around. What do you guys think?
I think we have 2 floating momentum, do we?
Yeah, I think, well, let's see, you would have gotten 3, so you have 1 floating momentum at the moment.
You could spend 2 to try to create an advantage regarding the approach that you adopt.
That's a good idea. I think I'd like to do that. I think I'm going to go with the mating call. That sounds more up Idru's alley, trying to create friends instead of enemies. So I think he's going to do that.
I was gonna
I'd
say
say the advantage is he's going to take a less aggressive posture.
Okay. So you send out this call on your tricorder. It's a little bit higher pitched than before, and it more or less is having the intended effect. Whereas before, the ratites were kind of like puffing out their feathers and like swelling up to make themselves look larger. They're still kind of doing that, but now they're not doing it at you, they're doing it at each other. And you realize very quickly that they are essentially engaged in one of those classic sort of, well, I'm a male and you're a male, so we now must decide who is the best male for the female making that call. Sort of like if you put 2 male beta fish together where they just go at it until one of them is no more. They're basically peacocking at each other is what I'm getting at.
Well, at least they're not killing anyone.
But we're now going to cut to Saval. So Saval, for the viewers at home, what is the actual like tagline on your career event?
It was forced or required to take command.
Gotcha. So as your hallucination comes to an end, you find that you are in shelter. You have found a ruined building with maybe about half a ceiling remaining. You've got a hand up against one of the walls. Sweat is dripping down your face. And even though you're a Vulcan, you feel tremendously hot.
Well, Saval will stumble over to a nearby outcropping of debris and sit down. Try to run through some Vulcan mental exercises to regain control of himself and lower his body temperature through sort of that force of will and meditation. And then he'll tap his comm badge. Captain, I have found an appropriate shelter. However, I believe there may be some form of pathogen or psychic phenomenon on this planet. You may wish to be aware of that.
So, Idru, you hear this, but Captain, you are still within your vision. How do you reply? Because again, it's justified based on what you are experiencing.
No, Lieutenant. It looks like that distress signal was a trap. We have to get out of here. It's too late!
I see. Commander Saval to Dr. Idru or Commander Telek, please respond.
Commander, this is Dr. Idru. The others in the away team are undergoing, from what I can tell, some form of hallucination. What's your status?
I believe that I experienced the same phenomenon. I appear to have recovered, although I am physically stressed. Do you require assistance?
Well, some of the bird creatures we encountered before came back. I think I've managed to distract them. They seem to be more interested in each other at this point, but I don't know how long that's going to last. If you're able, I think it makes sense for all of us to be in one place.
I agree. I will return to your position and help you to escort the rest of the crew to this location. Give me a moment, please. And I will flip out my tricorder and try to determine my relative location.
Okay. So as you do that, I would like you to roll me a insight and a security difficulty of 3. And if you have survival, awareness, perception, anything like that, it would apply as a focus.
Difficulty of 3, you said?
Difficulty of 3.
I'm going to buy 2 dice for 3, which should bring us down to 2 because we had 5.
Mhm.
And survival is a focus.
3 successes is enough. So, Saval, you run a tricorder scan, and just in the nick of time, you're able to sort of dive behind cover as you are detecting that the Jem'Hadar that have been present the entire time, the Jem'Hadar drop their shrouds and surround the rest of the away team. And Idru, of course, you being the only one, quote unquote, cognizant of this fact, the Jem'Hadar sort of point their pulse rifles at you, and one of them speaks up and says, "Overseer, we have captured the Federation." Sorry, I had brain derp. The Federation test subjects. What would you wish us to do with them? And there's a bit of a silence as they are obviously communicating over a headset. And then the first says, "Very well, Overseer, your will be done." And they just sort of motion with their weapons for you all to get moving in a direction.
Idru, not being a warrior in any fashion, will comply and try to shepherd the rest of the crew through their hallucinations to do what the Jem'Hadar want.
Gotcha. And what I would say is about as you're leading, or as you're being led, Captain, you come out of yours. Telek, you come out of yours. Vran stays in their hallucination. So by the time you all are fully cognizant and aware again, Saval, you have seen that they are headed towards a structure to the north. But there are no Jem'Hadar after you, Saval.
How many Jem'Hadar did I see escorting them?
You saw approximately 6. I say
see.
approximately because, again, with the shroud, they could be in greater numbers.
And how far away are we from? I mean, does this planet have a nightfall in light of its solar conditions, or?
I believe it is night. Didn't we
Yeah, it
come
is
down
night
at night?
currently. But to answer what the follow-up question is, you have maybe 2 hours before sunrise, and things become especially unpleasant.
Okay. I would like to try to skirt my way around the edge of the city, observing them as they are being led away,
Mm-hmm.
to see if any Jem'Hadar sort of take up position with them, say some of them shroud, new Jem'Hadar take their place, just to assess the disposition of the forces that they have. And how far away are they from that building that they're going to?
I would say that the good news is that you're not seeing any additional Jem'Hadar. But the building they're going to, as you and the group get closer and closer and closer, what you're seeing is that it's not so much a building as it is a tunnel, almost like a subway that goes into the earth. I feel like I've missed something. Did I miss something there?
Not really, no. Just
Okay.
to see if any Jem'Hadar left or came in to the group.
Okay. Then yeah, you sort of shadowing from a distance, you see the same six, no additional come in, and the rest of the away team is led into the depths of this passage. And we're going to focus on the away team for a moment. So Idru, Captain, Talek, you all are basically pushed into what is essentially a repurposed subway station underneath the surface of the city. And you were pushed into what is essentially a ring that has been set into the ground, almost like that one DS9 episode where we first met the Dominion. There's a ring, and the moment you are pushed into this ring, a force field springs up around you. And the Jem'Hadar all sort of filter out at that moment. And walking out of the darkness is a Romulan of all things. They bear the mark of a commander, and they are carrying with them a strange machine. Now, this machine is not something any of you have ever seen before, but you are able to tell that it has Ferengi characters on the casing of whatever this machine is.
Sure,
Uh,
Talek, how are you feeling?
I feel like I was hit by a truck. They didn't happen to leave you with some of your medical supplies? I got a
No,
bad headache.
I don't have anything, unfortunately.
Would I be able to tell just looking over at the machine, like some of the parts or anything?
Why don't you roll me a insight engineering at a difficulty of 3? I guess I can get rid of the birds too. The birds did not come with you.
That's a shame.
I'm not the best at this, guys. How bad do we want this? I don't think we want this that bad.
It might be useful.
I'd say 1 die.
You could also give me threat. Not that you need it. You get 3 successes. So, you actually know what this is, Telek. It's something that you haven't even seen or heard of in years, but you're able to tell that that is a Ferengi thought maker. And if you're not familiar with what a thought maker does, it essentially forces a subject to have certain thoughts or feelings. It's not something the Federation likes to see, if you get my meaning.
And with my tricorder probably both broken and taken away, there's really no way I could interfere with that from here.
Unfortunately, no.
Captain, I believe that machine is what has been the cause of our troubles thus far. So we might want to steer clear of that, even though it works from a distance.
Is the Romulan inside the circle with us?
No, and actually, as your eyes begin to adjust to the gloom, what you see is that there's a sort of a makeshift laboratory next to your enclosure. There's this silver spherical device with sort of rectilinear circuitry patterns and white light below, and its upper part is glowing with a red light. And sort of around the equator of this sphere are sort of slider controls. and hooked to it is another thought maker. So there's two thought makers in play here. But the doctor, just sort of very impassionately, very Romulan, I guess, just sort of comes up to the edge of the force field, looks over all of you, and says, I was hoping for more test subjects, but this will have to do. Tell me, any of you care to enlighten me on what you've experienced so far? I trust I will make your stay much more pleasant if you simply cooperate.
So would Telek have had time to tell us that they recognize parts of, or at least the idea of what that device is?
I would say yes, they could have done that in a whisper.
I think I'd speak up to the Romulan. Excuse me. That device that you have, it's quite amazing. Could you explain how it affects the memories of different species, particularly the differences in the temporal lobe of Vulcan versus an Andorian?
Honestly, that's kind of why we've done all this. We are trying to use the device to, and they're cut off as coming into the chamber are the Jem'Hadar, but this time they are led by someone. And it is someone whose face you do not recognize, but Captain Shran, you remember that voice. And the Vorta that appears says, Dr. Valeric, what is the status of your experiment? You assured me that you would be able to make the Thoughtmaker into a control device. Why is it taking so long? And the doctor sort of looks a little bit scared as he looks at the Vorta and says, as I said, Overseer, the effect across multiple subjects diminishes the intensity of the effect. The whole point of these tests is so that we can learn how to calibrate the thought makers without overloading the circuitry. Now that we have test subjects, I can hone in on what we're trying to do here. And the Overseer just sort of snorts, almost impassively, and says, well, for your sake and the sake of your comrades, I hope you find it quickly. We found evidence that there is another Federation member in this away team, and we will be concerned with finding them. The last thing we need is Starfleet breaking out. Oh, and Doctor, let me make it abundantly clear as they turn to leave. If you do not have any momentum in your progress, I will be very unhappy with you. And then he leaves, taking the Geminar with them. And the doctor noticeably looks nervous at this point, sort of runs a hand through their hair and says, okay, Valeric, like, keep it together, keep it together. Right, test subjects, test subjects. You, points at the captain. What did you experience?
Why are you here? What's keeping you here, Doctor?
Why don't you roll me a presence command difficulty of 1 to see if he listens?
I have a focus in persuasion. Does that count?
Most definitely. 1 success is all you need. So the doctor very nervously looks around and replies in a lowered voice. Listen, I don't want to be here. You know of the Romulan and Cardassian fleet that tried to kill the Founder homeworld?
I've been briefed.
Let's just say there were survivors. I'm one of them. I've sort of been press ganged into service. Like, I want to help you, I really do, but if I don't get this Thoughtmaker working properly, they're gonna kill the other survivors.
Are those other survivors on this planet?
No, they are in a ship in orbit. One of the, shall we say, captured trophies was a cloaking device. Whatever ship you came in on probably is dealing with that vessel right about now.
That would explain why we can't contact them.
And then there's like a sound of like a rock dropping, and the doctor almost jumps and says, right, you, the Delton, tell me what you experienced. And, sort of that little camaraderie you have has vanished. However, it is at this point we're going to jump back to Saval. So, Saval, you have been able to count the number of active Jem'Hadar, at least, again, as far as you're seeing. There are 6. They are being led by a Vorta, and they are beginning to sort of emerge from the subway tunnel and are fanning out in 6 different directions. So 3 towards you, 3 away from you.
Okay. I'd like to use the tricorder that I have. Can I detect any other entryways into the subway system?
Let's do an insight and a security difficulty of 1.
Survival, infiltration.
I will give you both. 2 successes. That's a point of momentum. There actually is, if your tricorder is functioning properly, in the building across the way from where you're hiding now, there is almost like an access way or a maintenance tunnel that would conceivably lead to the same space.
All right. Judging based on the direction in which the Jem'Hadar that is closest to me, or is heading in the direction closest to me, is heading, could I go into like an alleyway or something like that, take off my uniform jacket, and make it seem as if like somebody is hiding around the corner or something? Use that as a distraction.
I'll let it happen, but what I would say is that the Jem'Hadar would get a roll against it unless you spent your 2 momentum that you have to create the advantage. And if you create the advantage, I will say that the Jem'Hadar are sufficiently distracted for you to make your way inside.
Then that is what I think I would do.
I think that's important enough.
So, Saval, as you set up your scarecrow, as it were, and dash over to the access tunnel, you hear the Jem'Hadar begin moving towards your scarecrow, but you descend into the earthy passageway, and those of you that are currently contained within the force field, you probably see or hear something coming in your direction, and I'm going to let Saval make the call whether or not he reveals himself. Saval, you are, of course, seeing that ring where your fellows are being kept. You're seeing a Romulan doctor fiddling with an instrument, and it doesn't seem to be a Vorta or Jem'Hadar here at the moment.
I would be sneaking down through the tunnel, trying to keep myself hidden. And when I see the Romulan doctor has turned his back to me, I would make one last quick review of the situation to see if I can detect the sort of hazy blur of a Jem'Hadar that is shrouded. And if I see nothing, I would move on him and try to Vulcan nerve pinch him.
Vulcan nerve pinch him. All right. Go ahead and roll me a daring and security, please. This would normally be a difficulty 0 because you are sneaking up on him, but I have 2 threat remaining, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend 1 to make the difficulty a 1 again, and I will use the other 1 to give the doctor a additional dice.
Okay. I'd like to give you 1 threat right back to get an extra die.
Okay.
I was going to offer to try to distract him, maybe help him fix the thing. Or pretend that I'm helping him fix the thing, since I'm an engineer. I can.
Why don't you assist with a let's do presence engineering.
So you see, if you redirect the linear Nadian particle chamber, maybe it'll have a bit more of an effect and won't run out as soon. And just keep rattling on. I can press technobabble as much as we.
You're fine with the 1 success you have and 2 from Saval. That is a number to beat, but let's see what the good doctor rolls. No, that is not enough. So, Saval, do you want to unconscious nerve pinch him, take him in a chokehold?
Uh,
How are you dealing with him?
I, I would flavor it as a Vulcan nerve pinch to render him unconscious.
All right. So, Saval, you reach out and pinch his collarbone, and the doctor crumples on the spot.
Hmm. Captain, are you well?
I've done better. And if you can get me out of this force field, I'll feel much better.
Of course. And I would look about for the controls to the force field. If I couldn't find anything, I would try to take out my phaser and shoot the small control node on the.
Okay. Why don't you roll me a insight security difficulty 0, because you could use some momentum right now.
Survival or infiltration?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right, so you get 1 momentum. Well, you're not exactly sure what that device does, but you're pretty sure that it's somehow connected to the force field. So if you shot it, you probably could, escape.
Then that is what I will do. I will set my phaser to a low power setting to try to avoid detection
Mm-hmm.
and take a shot at the device.
And I'm
All
going to
right.
make sure I'm on the other side of the ring, just in case.
All right. So you fire and hit the device, and it sparks and catches fire. And sure enough, the force field drops, freeing everyone within. However, I do have a very important question for Telek, especially. In regards to the Thought Maker, what are you going to be doing about that?
I mean, we could break it, but I think the best thing to do is just bring it. That way we can get rid of it later.
Adrian will definitely be interested in it for academic reasons.
Mightn't we wish to either deactivate it or destroy it if it might affect us as we're attempting to affect egress?
I mean, I can turn it off probably pretty easily.
Yeah, all it would take is a control engineering difficulty of 0, so free momentum. Though it would be fun if you rolled a complication. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Then I would appreciate if you did so.
Is this dilithium based?
It is not, unfortunately.
Well, I had
But
to ask. I have technologies.
But
Right,
it does
well,
run on power systems.
it does run on power
I have
systems.
starship power systems.
You rolled a 10 and a 15, so even with the focus, it wouldn't have given you anything extra. But hey, 2 successes. Yeah, so like you can turn this thing off. No problem.
And did you say there were 2 of them or just the one?
Well, Saval kind of just shot one, so yeah, there's one intact one.
Do we want to take the broken one as well?
I think so.
And we'll say Vran sort of goes up to the crumpled doctor, maybe prods him with his foot, and says, "Captain, what do we want to do with this one?"
Well, my first instinct is to say bring him with us. He's a dead man if we leave him here. But are we sure he is who he said he was?
Oh. And Vran looks to Saval. Commander, are you feeling a changeling infiltration here?
It is entirely possible. Regardless, we can perform. Excuse me for a moment. I will take a shard of metal from the destroyed Ferengi memory manipulator,
Mm-hmm.
and I will go over to Valeric, asking
Mhm.
Lieutenant Vran to cover him carefully, and I will take his hand and slice the palm.
And when you slice it, the green blood of a Romulan begins to pool out. But interestingly, it's never leaving the hand. It just sort of beads there, and instead of dripping to the floor, it just stays green, connected to his palm.
I see. Well, it does appear that this individual is a Romulan. The blood appears appropriate, and I will start backing off very slowly.
Mm-hmm.
You don't
And
happen to have a second phaser, do you, Commander?
unfortunately not. You may wish to investigate the area while I will just shoot him with a phaser on vaporize.
All right, so let's be clear here. You are aiming
Whoa!
for a lethal attack, yes?
Yes.
Okay, that
Is
gives
he
me
being held?
one. It does give me 1 point of threat to do lethal. I'm trying to figure out how to break this down without ruining the mystery. And I actually have to look up Changeling stats because I want to make extra sure I'm being fair about them. If anybody gets to the Changeling stats before I do, I believe they have resistance. It's either 2 or 4, and that's what I'm trying to find. But I don't think that applies to lethal attacks.
The main rulebook does not list changeling.
Let's see. Okay.
It's got to be in the.
Okay, here it is. They have a base resistance of 4. Okay. So, Saval, you are doing a control security. The difficulty is going to be 3 because I'm going to spend a threat that you just gave me to make it a difficulty of 3. If you hit, you have to deal with the 4 resistance, but let's see if you even hit first.
I will use augmented ability control.
Okay.
And I didn't say it was aiming, so I can't use Deadeye Marksman.
Mm-hmm.
But I will buy an extra die for 1 momentum.
Okay.
And apply this.
Wow, that is 5 successes, so you get 2 momentum. Yeah, go ahead and roll the damage on your phaser.
So I think that should be 8 challenge dice because Type 2 phaser has 2 base damage.
Okay, so that is 5 before you re-roll or add piercing to it. So how would you like to proceed from here?
I'll spend 1 to re-roll the 4 challenge dice that are zeros.
Okay. All right, you're up to 7. So 7 minus 4, you're only doing 3 stress at the moment.
And I'll spend 1 for piercing 2.
And that is 5. All that is needed. And because I think it's interesting from a character point of view, Captain, you watch as Saval pulls out his phaser, fires it at maximum at the doctor, and the doctor begins to do that vaporization thing we see in Star Trek where the body just begins to disintegrate away. But as they are disintegrating away, you notice that there is almost like a changeling shift where they try to squeeze or squirm their way out of it, but they essentially become dust on the wind.
And I think I still react the way I did when he said he was shooting. Whoa!
Apologies for the deception, Captain. The changeling was attempting to infiltrate our vessel. The Jem'Hadar on this planet are no doubt going to react quite violently, given the death of their god. I suggest we leave quickly.
And I'm sure that shot set off every alarm that they have. Let's make the quickest route out of here. Commander, you take the lead.
Very good, sir.
And I have an important question. Do you take the route that Saval took to get in here, or do you go out the main entrance?
I leave that choice to Commander Saval. I'm not even sure.
I would use the secondary route that I found originally.
Okay.
Before we leave this room, can I do a quick scan just with my eyes to see if there's anything that can be used as a weapon?
We'll handle it this way. Roll me 1 challenge die, and if you roll an effect, there will be something. I was gonna say, now to be fair, you could spend 1 momentum to re-roll that, or you could simply spend 2 momentum to create the advantage that there is something. But right now, you're not getting anything.
Yeah, if I may, I'd suggest that as we're going along, we come across like a small arms locker, and we use create an advantage spending 2 moments to get that.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
Is everyone else all right with that?
What would be in that locker?
A Jem'Hadar plasma pistol, which is comparable to your Type 2 phaser, but it has the Vicious 1 quality built into it.
Yeah, and that's interesting. Is there just one?
If you give me all your momentum, there's enough for all of you. If you give me just the 2 momentum, just 1.
How confident are we that we who wants a weapon right now?
I
Does
think we
everyone
might
want
run into them.
one? All right, let's do it. Let's spend the momentum, and we'll
Alrighty. So you all grab Jem'Hadar plasma pistols, and not a moment too soon, as you start to leave down the accessway, Jem'Hadar come running down, and almost in a wild fashion at seeing that their god is no longer there. They begin firing haphazardly at you. And what follows is sort of a run and gun situation where you all are firing behind you while you're proceeding forward, and the Jem'Hadar are doing their best to advance while firing back at you. So what I'm going to do now is, because I don't want this to get buried down in extended combat, I'm just going to roll one big roll and see what happens. So let's say that many dice. Well, they've rolled a complication, so I'm going to say that with that, you are all able, with your covering fire from the plasma pistols you appropriated, you are able to drive them back long enough, but by the time you get to the surface, they are sufficiently far enough away from you. And if you guys want to roll to see how many you injure specifically, we can. But at this point, you have sort of escaped them somewhat. So it's entirely up to you if you even want to make that roll.
I'm okay with you just picking a random number in your brain,
We'll
even
do
if
it
it's
fair.
0.
We'll do it fairly. I will roll a challenge dice for each of the Jem'Hadar. And I have rolled 4 effects, so good job. You have taken out 4 Jem'Hadar with your plasma pistols. Very nice. And the remaining 2 are... Oh, go ahead, sorry.
It was the doctor. I believe it was the doctor who did it.
I think throughout this, Idru wouldn't have taken a pistol. Actually, he looks a little pale and actually a little shocked, and he hasn't really said anything.
And I
So
think
everybody except Idru.
Except Idru, yeah.
Yeah. So, with you all finally outside, and with the device with you, Vran sort of says, Captain, I'm getting a hail from the I-13. It's Commander Holton. They want to know what the hell's going on down here.
Commander, do you have a transporter lock on us?
And Holton's voice comes over and says, yeah, Captain, but I've got a Jem'Hadar Vanguard bearing down on us. I could beam you out, but we'd be vulnerable for a little bit, sir.
Do you think you could get free for a few moments? If we find some shelter, we might be able to hide at least for a moment.
And there's the sound of an explosion in the background. It says, sir, I'm just going to try and beam you out. No offense.
None taken.
All right. So, because we could actually end up in full starship combat, I will just go ahead and put us on this map. So there's the I-13. The Jem'Hadar Vanguard is right behind it. All right. So the way we're going to do this is I have to ask, do we have a transporter chief? We do. We have Martinez. So I need Martinez to roll me a control and an engineering. The difficulty on this, because transporting is serious business, It was going to be a difficulty 2. You have advanced sensors, goes down to difficulty 1. You are beaming to a transporter pad, difficulty 0. The target, the away team, is not on a transporter pad, difficulty of 1. So I think the total difficulty here is a 1. And Martinez is doing control engineering, and the ship is doing sensors engineering.
Okay, I have the ship up.
I have Martinez.
All right, that's already 2 successes. All right, so you get a momentum. And sure enough, you all are beamed away from the surface right as the Jem'Hadar Vanguard open fire. So I am going to roll, and we're going to see what happens. And this could go very badly or very poorly. We'll see. All right, well, the good news is that they have missed completely. So, sort of in structured combat, quote unquote, all it takes is a miner for all of you to get to your stations. So you can get to the bridge and act.
I think we should go to the holodeck, guys. What do you think?
Wait, I don't think we have one.
No, unfortunately, the I-13 does not have a holodeck.
Well, that's clearly why Saval's been having issues. I think we're all going to the bridge.
All right. So you emerge under the bridge, and Holton springs up out of the chair and succeeds it to the captain and says, "Orders, sir. Are we engaging? Are we fleeing?"
Is it actually a Jem'Hadar battleship?
Oh, yeah. In fact, if you didn't catch the little hint I dropped earlier, it's the same one that you scared off, quote unquote, with the Jovum.
I think to get away with warp, you have to spend more power than the enemy, right?
Correct.
And they definitely have more power than us.
Well, if I may provide a suggestion, if you have Telek do a power management, you technically can exceed the amount of power. I believe that's how it works, is you can exceed the amount of power you have for a turn. Or no, it's a round. Let me look. Because I never remember if it's shields. Let's roll it this way. So it says which may exceed its normal maximum. So if Telek is able to do a power management and succeeds, you would have enough power to keep their initiative via quick to action to then warp away. So no pressure, Telek.
Starship power systems, my guys.
All right.
Is there a benefit to me taking the turn to order Telek to do it?
Doing a direct, yes, because then you may assist with a presence command.
And I get to reroll.
What do you have, advisor?
Yeah.
They can reroll.
That's even better.
All right. Well, Telek, no pressure. Either a daring or a control engineering, difficulty of 2. And presence command from the captain, and we'll see what happens.
Oh no.
Oh dear.
But you can re-roll that complication.
I can re-roll it.
You can.
Because of my advisor, yeah.
Hey, it's not a complication. That's all that matters.
It's better than it was.
All right. So what happens then is you literally put as much power you can into the warp engines or the nacelles, and your dutiful helmsman takes the opportunity to punch it. And you go like a bat out of hell away from this planet. And the Jem'Hadar Vanguard does try to give chase, but you very quickly outpace them. So we are now going to go back to the bridge where things are starting to calm down. I mean, you're mostly out of the woods, but maybe there's some lingering thoughts before we end the session.
How long do you think we need to keep up the extra power?
Probably about
Commander,
a few hours.
Commander, you sure? Commander Saval, you sure that the Dominion ship has fallen back?
Yes, Captain. They are unable to match our pace, and I suspect that as they've been unable to exact vengeance for the death of the Founder, most of the officers on board that vessel will be terminating themselves in short order.
Commander Holton, can you just send everything that we just got to Starfleet Command? They're
Yes,
gonna want to
sir.
know everything.
Do we want to keep this machine in working order or destroy it?
If I may, Starfleet Intelligence would be very interested in any modifications that the Jem'Hadar or Dominion have made to the device. We might be able to develop some kind of counter to it.
I'll
Doctor,
spend
what do
some
you
time
think?
and get some stats on it, break it apart.
It's possible, of course, to build a counter to it if we can determine how it operates. Apparently, it wasn't even fully functional.
Let's make sure that that thing is completely deactivated before we do anything else with it.
Captain, might I have a word with you in private?
Yes, Doctor. Commander Holton, you have the bridge.
Aye,
And
sir.
saunter over to my little private office.
Yeah.
And
So you're now in the ready room.
as soon as the door closes, Idru lets out a breath that he's been holding pretty much the whole time that you guys have been back on the ship. So, am I right in assuming that we're going to put Mr. Saval in the brig?
Excuse me, Doctor.
He murdered that creature.
As much as I respect that point of view, Doctor, we are actively at war with the Dominion. I assume you're referring to the Founder.
Yes, I believe from the moment that I got to see before it was disintegrated that it was probably a founder, yes. Worst case scenario, it was a Romulan, but let's assume it was a founder based on the reactions of the Jem'Hadar.
Then I believe Commander Saval had no choice but to fire. He's the one who has the most experience dealing with the Founders and the Dominion.
So, in
And
your
as much
opinion,
as he's gone rogue and done things that I don't agree with, in this situation, I think he acted appropriately. I think he saved us.
I guess we'll never know the truth. We didn't attempt diplomacy at all, in fact. And if my monitor was correct, it looks like that was the same vessel that we had tricked before. So, without getting too fine to the point, we started a deception and continued it. Uh, Perhaps they were just carrying on the same duplicity that we enacted on them before. They had no reason to trust us.
We
If
fell
this is
into a trap, Doctor. That's not the first time in my career that I've fallen for that.
is this the way that Starfleet operates to shoot first and ask questions later?
In the ideal situation, no.
So he had to kill the founder. You feel that's the best decision? Like stunning the founder was not an option at all.
It could have been.
Would they not have
Would
been
it-
a more valuable prisoner?
What if he had tried and failed? None of us would be here.
I guess it's a good thing I don't apply the same logic in sickbay.
Doctor, I understand you wanting us to uphold these notions of peaceful coexistence, but we're at war, and this is not the time.
It's been a while, and I confess that I never attended the academy, so there's a lot of pieces in education about how Starfleet operates that I might have missed. But I can remember back when I was a kid and my father talked to us about the values of Starfleet. I seem to remember something being tossed around about the purpose of Starfleet to discover new life. I don't remember the last part of that saying and then immediately to execute it.
Maybe you're right, Doctor. And feel free to file your own report. I encourage it. And if the situation was different, maybe we could have talked our way out of it, or, I don't know, delivered a comic karate chop to the neck and knocked the founder out, but I don't think that was an option this time.
So you don't think there was any option? The only choice was to kill it.
I didn't have honestly, Doctor, the choice was taken out of my hands the moment Commander Saval squeezed the trigger. I may have tried. Believe me, I probably would have tried. But this crew seems to have a way of acting without my input. And sometimes I don't agree with it, and sometimes I do. And I am just coming to terms with that.
But you are the captain. The decisions you make and the attitude you set are carried out by the entire crew, even if you're not giving orders for every task that we take. Letting things like this slide is, in essence, agreeing with it.
Letting it slide. Again, I agree with Commander Saval's actions in this instance. Do I think we could have attempted diplomacy if things had shaken out differently? Yes, but we weren't given that option.
There might have been time to talk to them or at least attempt a conversation. Or, like I said before, at least try to stun them. From what
Doctor,
I've read about.
I think we're just talking in circles here.
That's out of breath. Well, I remember in long discussions when I was a kid, my father used to say that the measure of a man is based on when he makes hard decisions, even when everyone around with him doesn't agree. And I think at this point, and he grabs his communicator and he tosses it on your desk, I think I've decided that jail is the right place for me. I can't be a doctor on a starship like this when all we're going to do is kill everything we encounter. My mission is to heal. What is your mission, Captain?
Sometimes, Doctor, I'm not too sure anymore.
I guess I'll find my way to my quarters, relieving myself of duty effective immediately. But I can't
Doctor,
imagine you'll be needing me much anyway. Like we said, we've established the intention of this vessel is to kill any life forms it encounters first and ask questions later.
I disagree with you, Doctor. But it's your right. If you no longer wish to serve on this starship, that's your choice. I'm not going to argue with you.
I think you can understand, Captain, my oath to protecting life is paramount to me. And now that I see on this vessel that Starfleet doesn't share those values, I don't see how I could belong here.
All right, Doctor. I'm not going to try to change your mind. Things happened in the heat of the moment. There was nothing we could do to change what just happened down there.
Just
Nothing.
fuel for thought, Captain. I'm glad that the Dominion showed us the mercy we didn't show them. They could easily have killed us when they encountered us before. You were all incapacitated. I was the only one in control. But instead, they captured us and they took us prisoner. In this case, they showed us more mercy than Starfleet.
They were conducting strange experiments on our minds, though.
But we were all able to walk away from it. The Founder, not so much.
And maybe we walked away because of the actions of Commander Saval.
But from what I've read, all the Jem'Hadar on that mission are, in fact, either killing themselves or have already killed themselves. So we've been responsible for who knows how many deaths. I can't believe that that was the best option.
Again, Doctor. Commander Saval took the options off the table when he fired that rifle, or phaser. There was nothing we can do to change that now.
If that's your belief, Captain, I'll see myself out.
Captain Strawn turns to his little computer and starts typing, kind of trying not to look at the Doctor.
And Idru storms out.
Yeah. And I think that is actually an excellent point to end this week's episode. So, hey everybody, Shizno, you're late. You literally missed everything, Shizno. Good job. But yeah, that's where we're gonna end the session. You'll see these guys in a few weeks. We're gonna talk offline about where we go with Idru, because I think there's merit to what everyone's saying. Like Idru has a point, the captain has a point. We're gonna see what GM Josh wants to do with Idru. But the intention is to keep him as a player. Like I don't want in character decisions to like force him out of the game. But yeah, that's where we're gonna end the session. So Twitch, YouTube, thank you so much for tuning in. I see we actually had a good number turn out, so thank you so much. But yeah, this is where I end the stream. So see you later.